Yeah, this is definitely a good group of people. I want to take a minute, and I think I've met most of you guys, and to go back through the whole history of why I'm running and give that whole spiel again. We're in a whole new phase of the campaign process here. And so what I'm going to do is just walk you through real quick, again, what we've been campaigning on from day one, and walk you through a history and a series of events that have taken place from the point, even before I ever decided to run for Congress as a Tea Party guy, out there just taking a stand against tyrannical government, all the way to where we're at today, and then how that relates to where I'm at today in the campaign, why it's important. So again, I got involved as part of the Tea Party because I was fed up with most of Washington and what was taking place in D.C. And I wanted to get involved as a citizen. I wanted to quit being on the sidelines and be involved in the solution, not be part of the problem. In that case, part of the problem was complacency, sitting on the sidelines and not being engaged. So the first thing was going to the initial Tea Party event. Beyond that, during the Tea Parties getting together and starting their fight against the health care bill, the first thing we noticed was how much Bobby Bright was not out in the forefront answering questions, wanting to meet with constituents. So one of the first things we did specifically was get a bunch of seniors together and go face Bobby Bright and take these seniors to his office and put him in front of his electorate and say, hey, look, these guys want to talk to you and you should be able to listen to them. And that was the event that he snuck out the back door. Between that event and the town hall meeting we put on, I went and faced Bobby Bright at a town hall meeting at one of his Congressman on the Corner events. This was at the Heritage Barber Shop in Montgomery. A very small event, about half the size of this room. Went and I was able to go there and just put him kind of rock him back on his heels by asking him if he was going to support a bill that included a public option. Because in his little dissertation he gave, he seemed to beat around the bush. He'd say he wasn't going to support it, but if he was, he'd make sure it was the best bill he could be. And so again, we took a stand against Bobby Bright and really put him in an awkward situation. I think that's when I first realized how much Bobby Bright doesn't stand up well when you really ask him the hard questions and force him to give an answer. The third thing was when the town hall meeting, we couldn't get him to meet with anybody. So we, as Tea Party folks, put together an event on the town hall steps in downtown Montgomery one afternoon, put up a big mannequin of Bobby Bright, stapled his face to the front of it, and said, we're going to talk to our congressman whether he wants to be here or not. And I was the final speaker at that event. And so again, it was a third step I'd really had taken ever before even looking at running office, to take a stand and stand up against my elected congressman at the time, and as well as to tyrannical government. Then we had the 9/12 March on D.C., which I participated in. Again, we traveled on buses 14 hours, got out, marched on D.C., got back on buses 14 hours back, and were miserable for a week afterwards because it was such an uncomfortable ride. But I was so inspired that it was by that and coming back that involved me getting involved in the campaign process. And the reason I chose to run, and we've talked about this before, is because the few things I was looking for in leadership, and something I desperately believe we need, and that was someone with real-world experience, especially in national security, and having defended this country and understanding what it means to get behind a rifle and defend this country at that level, to serve overseas. I wasn't in conflict, but I did serve 3 years in Japan, so I got to see other nations. I got to see what it's like to serve away from our country. And then likewise in business, we have an economy that's just absolutely out of control. We have small businesses that aren't getting stood up for and aren't represented well. And the third thing is we need people that are willing to take the tough issues head on. They're willing to stand tall, say what needs to be said, regardless of the fallout, regardless of the attacks that are going to come, and start living in that world. And since doing that, we have been nationally recognized in 3 different events. First was our choice to go and represent Scott Brown and getting him elected as a referendum on health care. Now, naturally, Scott Brown has not turned out to be a perfect conservative. We knew that going in. I wasn't voting for Scott Brown or going up there to campaign for 3 days for him because he was a perfect conservative. He was the filibuster vote, hopefully, on health care, which I was committed to continue to fight as much as I could to help stop it. So we spent 3 days up there. Good Morning America picked up our article, came back, got some national attention, and so we made that stand. A few months ago, we put out about a month and a half ago, we took Bobby Bright to task because his lack of stand on health care, on repealing health care. He voted against it, but yet he didn't say he would repeal it. So we marched up to his office, and I tried to hand him the repeal offering, say, look, you want a bipartisanship bill? That was what you were disappointed about. Me, Martha Roby at that time, were both on this repeal effort, and we wanted to make sure if he wanted bipartisanship, he voted against it, he should be willing to fight against it and repeal it. Naturally, Bobby Bright decided not to show up at the office that day when I told him I would be there. But yet it's another position in which I was always on the forefront, taking on our current elected leader that doesn't want to take the hard stands. Standing up against the president, don't ask, don't tell. It's a big problem right now that we're talking about repealing. It's something I'm absolutely appalled about. Something I don't hear a lot of people talking about. But it's a big problem. Again, another issue where we have a fence walker. We have Bobby Bright saying, I voted against it, but now he's talking about he would vote for it if this supposed report that they're doing comes back and says that it has no harm on our warfighting abilities. Again, someone who's never served in the military doesn't understand why Don't Ask, Don't Tell and repealing that policy is such a threat to our national security. How much time do I got? Good. Okay. And so we took him to task on that, again, with no answers. And when we took him to talk, we said, hey, why aren't you out there standing tall against Nancy Pelosi against this? The very next day, he puts out a press release saying he's going to send a letter to Nancy Pelosi. A letter. So what do? We put out another strong press release against him saying, a letter. Is that what kind of representation we can expect from our congressman? He's going to stand tall and give a letter to Nancy Pelosi. You think that's going to do anything with it? And I tell you all this for a reason. Is that the last two web ads we put out, and it's very relevant, are ones that, again, have caught national attention. And it's caught national attention because we're going after the liberals. Too long, conservatives have sat back, waited for the issues to come up, and then try to defend them at that point in time when they're already being called names, or being called bigots, or being called racist, or being called demagogues, whatever the case may be. That it's all doom and gloom. But that's when you lose the battle, because just like fighting terrorists on our ground is counterproductive, waiting to fight the liberals on their territory is also counterproductive. And our latest ad we just put out yesterday, didn't expect to go as big as it is, has got the liberal media absolutely fired up. We've got 3 national interviews tomorrow because of it. One with Alan Combs. Those who know him knows he's an absolute liberal blogger or columnist out there. And I'm going to go stand head-to-head with him. And I'll stand head-to-head and continue to stand head-to-head with those that, one, want to oppose the movement that needs to happen this year. Oppose the strong leadership that needs to be out there. And the reason getting that national attention is so important is because from day one, my promise to you and to everyone in this district is that I would be a congressman that you would know would be there. I would use the media, I would use my megaphone in Congress to get the attention of not just the liberals, but the rest of America, because we need all the people in our nation fired up and involved. And I have successfully done that time and time again since starting this campaign. And it's a testament. It's a great illustration of what I will do in Congress. Use the tools that I'm equipped with to be effective, to take the fight to them, stand tall in adversity, and be able to, with a strong debate, win the arguments on the points and not get caught up in the name calling. And that's something I think is very important as we go to the polls on July 13th. I think we need to look at what the track records have been. They're all very relevant. In my case, I don't have a political track record I can point to. I don't. What I do have is a very strong track record for the past year and a half that has shown what kind of leadership, how I'll take Bobby Bright to task for the votes that he's made and the stands that he's not taken as a leader. And ask for your support on July 13th. So with that, I'll close and leave it for questions at the end of the day. Thank you so much.